Boom, and welcome to another episode of Nobody Watching. Let's consider for a moment how awesome we are at communication. Generally, collectively, we have come so far in the practice of sending and receiving messages and information that there is very little preventing us from sharing tons of information in mere seconds to anyone, anywhere, except maybe deserts and deep, deep caves. I hazard to think how much of our communication happens from bathrooms alone, all over the world, at all hours, day or night. From paintings on cave walls and smoke signals and Morse code to cell phones and texts and tweets and Instagrams and satellites and all the things, we are nearly masters of the process. I say nearly because for all the astounding methods of communication we have at our disposal, you would think that we would be better at communicating. We should be amazing, and we do all right. But our combined efforts to reach our loftier evolutionary objectives, quite often it seems like our grade A tools only result in a remedial C or C- in delivery. Maybe saying that we are nearly masters is in itself gracious. Yes, the messages get through, but unless the purpose of the message is achieved, that being the desired audience gets the complete message as intended and acts or responds accordingly, the message sent is just noise. Many, many missed messages means tons and tons of noise. Kind of like the endless stream of TV commercials swamping us with information about creams and salves and pills and foods and goods and services that few of us find interesting or necessary. And because there are so many of them, fewer still are even paying attention. A commercial break is still a great time to get a snack. Message sent, target missed, communication failed. Now, there is no way we're going to boil the ocean of resolving society's communication issues here in the scant moments we have together. After all, for as long as we have been trying to communicate with each other, there have been scholars, consultants, and experts telling us how to do it better. There are volumes of text and reams of case studies that explore every nook and cranny of the subject, which, given some consideration, I'm not convinced has been all that helpful. But considering the role we play in our universal communication odyssey on the daily, it's probably worth a few moments of conversation. Outside of the pervasive swarm of media messaging, the communications we do with friends, family, coworkers, store clerks, baristas, short order cooks, and more generates tons of messaging. It requires quite a bit of energy to keep it all straight. And keeping it all straight is what makes our lives chug along easily and on an even keel. If you don't believe me, think about the number of times you miscommunicated something, or better yet, your audience misunderstood your message, and the time you had to spend to get everything heading back in the right direction again. You soon realize that when things go sideways, the focus on your original message is quickly lost and replaced with the more robust and energy-sucking debate about what you might have really meant versus the words that were actually tumbling out of your face. Effective communication, no matter the tool, is an eternal challenge. The very best smartphone in the world is completely vulnerable to ambiguity and misunderstanding, where even the most well-crafted message is open to a wide range of interpretation. When we create a message, the meaning and the intent of that message as we hear it is always so very clear. It boggles the mind when our words come back to us from the person or persons we wanted to communicate with, telling us in detail how we made a grave communication error somewhere. Everyone who experiments with sarcasm, or is addicted to it, is fully aware of how nuance often vanishes in the mist of misunderstanding when someone misreads one of our carefully worded zingers. In our heads, hilarious. In their heads, off-putting and perhaps ire-making or potentially cringeworthy. At the very least, confusing. So we acknowledge that communication missteps often occur at the point of creation. But on the other side, the message receiver has a responsibility in making effective communication happen too. They need to be receptive to getting the message. They need to take in the message from a space of calm, serene understanding, while assuming joy and innocence, believing with all their soul that the message they are about to embrace is nothing more than what it intends to be, and in that they will find understanding. Well, that's a huge ask, and frankly, who has the time? What do they care about a message from you? They need to establish a very baseline of caring just to want to think about accessing your message. And if you don't keep them hooked like a high-grade Hollywood script, they will resort to a cursory review of your masterpiece with less attention than they would give a TV commercial for dirt. Then what have you got? On top of that, nobody is better at misreading cues and messages and body language and such than humans. Nuance and finesse are lost on us. We give it a good go, but our fertile brains and overactive imaginations tend to lead us to thinking what we might be missing. What is this message really saying to me? Is there more to this than what I am reading? Get bread on the way home. What does it mean? Well, it means what it says. It's not some secret mythical code that unlocks the Golden Palace. I think rudimentary language just shy of grunts and pointing are what would work best for us because that limits the potential for interpretation or, more importantly, misinterpretation. Eons ago, if you heard Grog want water, you knew Grog was thirsty, and what he wanted to quench that thirst was water. Today you might hear, boy, I need a drink, and there you go. We're off to the races. What does that mean? Are you okay? Tough day at the office? Are we headed to happy hour? You aren't going to drink and drive or anything like that, are you? And that is a very basic example where we miss things. Grog gets water. The other guy doesn't get anything until the litany of secondary questions are resolved, and even then, he might not even be thirsty. Just exasperated. Think about your messaging. Be clear, be concise, be thoughtful, be respectful, be brief. You know what? Even that list is too long. I guess we can only do what we can do while trying to be better at it in this increasingly complex and noisy world. Good luck, and we'll see you next time.